On today's video, we're going to be putting the front end of this S54 wagon back together. I went out and pulled everything in last night from the trailer. I had all this stored in there. This should be everything to put the front end back together except for the headlights and the front bumper. I had to pick and choose between wagon parts and M3 parts because I wanted to make sure that everything was going to be compatible with each other. So I've got the M3 skid plate, the plastic one, and the non-M skid plate around here somewhere. I have both of those. I have the M3, the metal skid plate with the inspection plate in the middle of it, and I've got the radiator and everything else. So that's really what we're doing today. There's not much to it. If there's any modification or anything, I will make sure to point that out in the video, but it looks like everything should be a direct bolt-on. I am going to be tuning the car sometime this next week and see if we can't get this thing started up. I haven't even turned the key over. The battery is dead at this point. Well, it's been unplugged. I'm sure it's dead as well, but I haven't even turned the key on this, obviously. I have no idea what it would do. So I'm going to be talking to some people that know what they're doing when it comes to coating and tuning these S54 in a non-M situation. So hopefully that's not going to be a huge deal or very expensive. And again, we'll make a video and go through all of that process when we finally get to it. But for right now, let's get all this on. I'm very excited. Let's get it started. All right, so this air duct on the front is clearly designed for a bumper that, is only about 4 inches tall or so. And what we're gonna be doing is putting a ZHP front bumper on here. So this is gonna have to be modified. Now in my race car, I actually removed this entire piece and I didn't have a fan back behind there, and then I removed the AC condenser. So my race car is really just straight through to the radiator until I added the supercharger. And it's still actually straight through to the radiator for the most part, but we're not gonna be doing that in this car. What I would like to do is maybe cut down the side here on both sides and then make kind of this similar shape. Maybe I'll bring this up, heat it up or something, and be able to match the ZHP mouth a little bit, and I'll be doing that in this video. The other thing is that there is another lip like this in the back that scoops up. So instead of like this one right here, it scoops like this. The one in the back scoops up like that. Well, in order to mount this oil cooler where it's supposed to sit, that sits right in front of it. So I'm gonna be taking a razor blade and slicing that off as per the M3. From what I can see, doesn't have one. And then that way I'll be able to get air from below and through these ducts here into the oil cooler. If I'd left that in there, the oil cooler would only be getting about half the air it needs, which would only be getting air off the bottom. That's the plan right now. I think for the most part, I've got the front end of the car basically put back together. I've got the air box, and then I've still got to put those wheel well pieces in, the fender liners, and I just haven't mounted those properly yet because I always end up having to take them off again later. So I might just make sure those fit, but not actually mount them up today. The other thing I would like to do is we'll fit the ZHP front bumper, make sure that fits, and then I would almost like to get the headlights out, maybe, we'll see, and just kind of roughly see where everything's gonna fit. Because I have not test fitted those headlights in here. I know they fit, I just haven't physically tried them out. So that's the plan for right now, and let's get started on that. So we're gonna end the video here. I did a lot of progress today, a lot of little things that I probably will go over in another video. I've got quite a bit of a list of things that people don't really talk about when they're doing these S54 swaps. And when I went to go look up online, just nobody mentioned them at all, nobody said anything. But considering that this has a different body harness than the M3, there are some things that are a little bit different. And I'd like to make a video going over some of those items and what I did to fix them. One of the things that we did mention earlier in this video was what skid plate I was going to be using. The original wagon skid plate, this is this plastic one here in the front, because this is actually a bumper designed for a wagon. So it's curved, and you can see that this piece right here is curved. That's why I don't have this one up. I do have a couple more things to do underneath there before I actually button the bottom of this up. So this might actually not be put back together until it's ready to be out on the street. The bumper isn't fully on the car because I know that at some point I'm gonna need to take it off. I am still fighting the fender well liner things, so I'm gonna have to take the wheel off to make sure that the fender liners are put together properly. And that's why I didn't bring out the headlights, because I'm gonna have to reach back in there, and that space right there is really nice to have right now while I'm trying to make sure all this fits. These are really cheap fender liners from, I think they're from Amazon. I'll have the link to them in the description below, but if you're looking for something super cheap and just need a set of them, these are gonna work just fine. I think I paid like 40 bucks for both of them, and an original one is like probably $30 or $40 a side, so saved us a little bit of money. But we're gonna be using the non-M skid plate here, and then the actual metal skid plate is gonna be the M3 skid plate, and that's the metal one with the access door on it. That one sits behind this. That will be the M3 one. So we've just kind of got a mixture of parts here, and then whatever's left over we'll be putting in the M3 shell and putting aside until we have a donor car to steal parts from to make that one alive again. So one thing that we did talk about that worked out really well, I'm not sure if you can see on camera here, but back behind this grill where we slit that mouth and brought it up, that's actually looking really good. And I'm very happy with the way that that has turned out, because that means that this entire mouth here will be functional. There is a reason that there is a bigger mouth on the M3. There is more air moving through here. Since we've got the mouth here, I wanted to make sure that the ducts going into the AC condenser and the radiator are as big as we can make them. And we also made room for the oil cooler here at the front. So everything just fit together really well. I did have to trim some stuff. I'm not sure if you can see this part either, but these ducts that go to the brake, these are brake cooling ducts, those don't fit super great. And it's not because this shape here is different than the M3. I think this shape here actually is rotated or something on the M3, because this section right here is the exact same. That fog light, this piece, and this size is all the exact same as the M3, the bumper. And so when you put these ducts up to it separately, they fit perfect, but when you go to put them on the car, it's almost like they were back and tilted a little bit. And not only that, they don't match in the front here, they also don't match in the rear. So from going to the duct into that front fender liner that I've been putting on today, and if you made this front piece match, the back got worse. So it's kind of in this in-between slot where it kind of fits in the front and kind of fits in the rear. This car didn't have it originally from what I pulled off the car, unless it had been damaged and pulled off earlier. So this is better than what it had, I think, but it's still not great. But as long as we're not super picky on those not quite fitting right, it does seem to be functional at this point. So it does go in and go out of the proper holes. It's just not quite lined up like it should. So that was a bit of a bummer. I was really hoping that those would fit like they should. I'm really thinking that this right here must be rotated on this bumper for some reason. So besides this, everything else has been basically fitting properly. A little bit of trimming and cutting here and there, but not really that big of a deal. Stay tuned, there is a lot more to come on this car. Obviously, we are not quite on the street and painted yet, like we will eventually get there. We're still moving seats and the steering wheel and the instrument cluster, and we're doing headlights and all sorts of other stuff, stereo system. So there is a ton of videos coming up. So subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can see when new videos are uploaded. Also check out our Instagram link in the description below. We are doing a 10,000 subscriber giveaway. At this point, we are just over 9,000 subscribers. And when we hit 10,000, we'll be giving away a prize to somebody who is following our Instagram. We have a third-party person to pick out a name from our follow list. So if you're interested in the details of that and want to be part of the giveaway, all you have to do is hit the link in the description below for our Instagram and then follow us on Instagram. That's all you got to do. Thanks everybody so much for watching. Check out our Patreon for early ad-free access of our content starting at just $1 a month. Again, a lot more to come on this car. We'll see everybody in the next video.